Hey guys, what's going on? It's Blake Ruffino from Are You Serious Sports. And this AYS short is brought to you by BetOnline.ag. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to bet on all your sporting action. BetOnline has you covered for all the news, scores, odds, and updates. It's literally the best way for you to place all your bets, and the best thing is it's free to sign up. Head on over to their website. Again, that's betonline.ag. Use your mobile device to sign up today and receive your 50% welcome bonus for your first deposit. Again, that's betonline.ag. Betonline.ag. All right, we are here with former LSU offensive lineman and NFL offensive lineman. And, Joe, I got to be honest. You can ask my wife. I've been listening to your music all morning. I'm sitting here, doing the stanky leg, everything. I'm rolling to it. But Joe Barksdale's joining us. Joe, what's going on today, man?
Oh, nothing much, man. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, look, we're going to kick it around, talk some LSU, talk some things that what you're doing here. And I love these exclusive interviews, right? Because really when you get into these exclusive interviews, it's always good to see, like your perspective and how you view things and now what you're doing now. And I think it's great for the fans too. But let's start off with some LSU stuff. Joe, I saw an iconic picture of you in the middle of Death Valley and you have your hands up after a big play, big touchdown. For you, being on that field, being at Death Valley, like, what do you remember? Like, bring us back there when you're in around 100,000 fans and the stadium's going wild. What was your best memories of those times at LSU?
Winning football games. I mean,
right.
I don't think it's a secret that, my record just continued to get worse when I got to the league. But coming from Detroit, I would say that Death Valley was one of the reasons I decided to come to LSU. Football is not a big deal in Michigan. I can't speak to it now. When I was coming out of high school, football wasn't a big deal, and I played in Detroit. We would have to play our games during school hours so that no one would get shot. Mm-hmm. As you can imagine, the stands aren't really full at 1 p.m. on a Friday,
Right,
so to see all like come together, to watch the game, the energy, the excitement, I mean, all the words I'm sure you've heard before. But for me, it was probably one of the greatest experiences of my life. I mean, as far as just seeing all of those people, like just seeing people come together for something in general was great for me. Right. Seeing those people come together for the game and the excitement that all those people had and, learning like the history and the traditions of the university and that kind of thing. I mean, it was pretty special. I'll say I was never nervous to play in Death Valley. I guess it's because I was always on the home team.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great experience. I talk about it, I talk to my wife about it. I'm sure I'll bring my kids there one day when they get old enough and their ears don't get blown out from the noise. But like I'd never seen anything like it. And it was very exciting to see, very exciting to be a part of. And like I said, there's nothing like winning. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. My bad. I cut you off.
Winning in Death Valley on a Saturday night. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
It's gonna be exciting. Someone could have died that morning, but if you won a Death Valley on Saturday night, like, sad. You'll be less sad. I'm not saying it'll go away, but it's a party,
So Joe, I was at the Georgia. I don't go to a lot of games. We do a post-game show after LSU, all this kind of stuff. So I don't get to go to a lot of games, right? But something, hearing about a lot of things like in 2019, the year that LSU obviously won the national title, and my family's all there. They're sitting in the stands, and I'm on the sidelines. I'm watching the game, and at the end of the game, I go and meet up with them. And something interesting about that, you don't really realize the atmosphere of LSU or Death Valley until you're down there, right? Like until there's a big play and somebody's screaming at you, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent. They can tell you they love you, they hate you, whatever. But I'll never forget, and Joe, you might be able to speak to this too from a physical standpoint, not even playing in the game. But I look down, and you probably remember this. They have a thermometer right where you walk out when you all come out to the stadium. And I'm like, why does that sucker say 126? Ain't no way it's 126 outside. Man, I was drenched in sweat. I'm a big dude. We're two former offensive linemen. But it's just the entire atmosphere that's absolutely crazy. of being in Death Valley. Now, Joe, we'll go to your music career in a little bit later, but
I
does
never
that?
looked at the thermometer. I didn't even know that thermometer was there.
Oh, I found that sucker quick. When I'm sweating, I gotta change shirts. It was ridiculous. But
Ignorance
Joe,
is because like when
right?
you were probably like, what is it, like 90 out here? It's a little toast, 126. God, you know what I'm saying? Like ignorance is bliss.
Oh, I was in a sauna, man. And look, I'm not. Us former O linemen, man. We're not. We're not good in these type of situations. But playing in Death Valley and going on to your career, doing live shows and stuff, did that ever prepare you for what life is like now to an extent too? Like I can't imagine being in a situation where, and then look, I get nervous every time I do a live show, right? So I get it. I always get the butterflies. But once you do it so many times and you've been in that situation, how did that help you now into your music career, being a part of something like that, maybe being around live fans or whatever?
There was an experience I had. This is when I was playing in the NFL. We were playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. We were losing. And, and I remember looking up, there's Kansas City, that's a big stadium, I think, one of the loudest ones in the NFL. And I remember seeing all these people, on the field. You can attest to this, seeing all the, you got the two organizations, plus all the media people, all the, equipment people, health people, that kind of thing. Seeing all those people, come together in that stadium, that kind of thing. And I looked up and I saw that Taylor Swift has sold out the Kansas City Chiefs stadium like 3 days in a row. And I'm like, that's like one person in a band playing to the same, number of people. And I will say, playing football in front of people was easier because, and I always saw it as like, like I'm part of a team, it's not touch the ball. It's not like I'm jogging out. There's old Joe Barksdale. Let's see what he's doing. That doesn't happen. You're an offensive lineman. Nobody cares what you're doing. So you go from like being some peripheral figure to like, we're looking at you,
Right.
I would say the thing that probably prepared me the most to play in front of people was when I broke my knee in the NFL. That was probably the most vulnerable I'd ever been in terms of like not being able to move on my own power. And I would say that's what really helped me the most, because at that point, when you can't get up, everybody's looking at you, And I was like, well, at least I'll never be in front of 100,000 fans with a broken knee again. So it can't be harder than that. But I would say that's the difference. As an offensive lineman, you're trying to stay out the way. As a musician, as a comedian, you are the show.
Right. So, and it's so funny that you talk about that too, because like torn ACL, you tore a knee. I mean, I feel like the same way that like you did. You're laying there on the ground like, man, just get me on out of here, man. I don't want people looking at me as looking at me, but I think that's a good characterization of how those two changed and correlated. Joe, I got to ask you this. You talked about San Diego and just watching your career, obviously knowing you being at San Diego. I got to be honest. Sometimes I sit up at night and I watch old Phillip Rivers trash talking videos, right? Is he the best trash talker that you'd ever been around on a football field?
No. Like, you hear about Phillip Rivers because he's a quarterback, but like, I've heard some shit. Like Phillip Rivers, like this is, you hear about it because he touches the ball. Imagine what the people who aren't touching the ball are saying to each other. Like I've heard people say the best trash talk I've ever heard from a player to another player. I saw a player stick his hand out to a guy one time, in the middle, at the end of a play and said like, thank you for my contract extension. I know it's the first game of the season. I've been busting your ass so bad that they're going to pay me now. Like, I was like, oh my God. And it was only like a quarter. And then the best trash talk I've ever heard from a player to a fan, because fans talk so much shit because they know that you can't jump in the stands and hit them.
No doubt.
But like any fan that's in the stand talking tough, all the way back to like the brawl at the Palace with the Detroit Pistons, like that dude deserves to get hit in the face. Anyway, the best trash talk I ever heard from a fan, and this was from an offensive lineman. Dude's talking trash to our center. It's Christmas Eve in Oakland, Thursday Night Football. hey, Sam, oh, you fat piece, all that kind of stuff. And the center's like, hey, bro, hey, is that your woman next to you? And he was like, yeah. He was like, if I was you, I'd shut up before I buy her what she really wants for Christmas.
Oh, God. Oh, I'm crying. Oh, it's so great.
Now, the
Oh, it's so
funniest
great.
trash talk I've ever heard. No, I'm not gonna do that one. But you hear some trash talk. Like you hear some
Right.
trash.
Yeah, there's some that we just probably have to, when we're in private, not on a recorded line.
Oh, yeah,
Then we
but I
can
can
talk
tell you
about
some
it.
more because I use some of it in my comedy routine. So yeah.
I love it. I love it. Joe Barksdale joining us. We'll let you know where you can follow him and all this stuff. We'll have this up on YouTube and all the audio podcast platforms. Don't forget to go to our audio podcast platform, download, subscribe from our Believe partners and betonline.ag. Joe, I got to ask you one more football question. I just want to talk about you. I always play guys like, I have his rookie card right here, Fletcher Cox. At least for me, I always sit back and I think about my life and think about a career, very short and not good career that I had, and think about all the greats that I played. And I watch them on Sundays, and I think to myself, like, man, that guy's just different. Was there a guy specifically to you that was like, man, this guy's just on a different level? No wonder why he is one of the best in the league. This is what he does. I've tried everything I could do to stop him. Was there anybody in the league or SEC that you ever went up against that you were like, man, I can't stop this guy?
No. I honestly used to hate hearing offensive linemen say that. Like, oh my God, we playing the Denver Broncos this week. Von Miller's so good. You're not even blocking him. You're not even blocking him. Like what? Like we're not just gonna sit around and talk about how good people are. Let's look at the film. There are people blocking these people. They're like, these are human beings. They can be blocked. Let me show you. That was always my thought process. I used to hate it. Like people would just make it seem like if the dude was that unstoppable, they wouldn't even put a lineman in front of him. They would just let him go. Now that's not to say that like I've had no one's ever played a perfect game. I get that, but nobody's unblockable.
Well, I agree with that statement, and fans don't realize that. They talk about. Say that again. I'm sorry.
That's the thing about being an offensive lineman. Even when you get beat, 90% of the time it's your fault. Like it's bad technique.
Right.
You don't realize, like, hey, if I can just get my technique together, figure out what works for me, and then deploy it again and again and again, nobody's unblockable.
It's funny you talk about that because I'll remember people and just fans, and look, we have them in our shows all the time. They'll talk about, well, this player on the offensive line stinks. And I'm thinking, because he gave up a sack or a sack and a half, right? And I'm thinking to myself, well, they just ran 97 plays or 87 plays, and he only had one bad play of those 87, and that makes him bad. Well, I will take the other 86. Like, thank you very much that he went 86 straight plays of being really well and only giving up that one sack. And I don't think fans really think about that a lot.
Fans don't think about a lot of things a lot. Fans don't think about anything. I mean, I'm joking, but I'm serious. Like,
no, I know.
Even when you talk about like taking knees during the national anthem, and you got fans that are mad about that, but these are the same fans that are also during that, say, hey, my man, let me get 2 beers over here, please. What you think during the national anthem? That's some bullshit. You see those players down there taking it, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's
completely.
A fan that's not qualified advice. A fan that's never been qualified advice. No offense to you or any media outlet. That's one of the reasons I used to hate the media, because they gave fans like more power than they needed. It's like, bro, it's your job to be amazed in the stands. No one cares what you think. You're still living at home with your mother. You're 33. No one cares what you think about this college offensive lineman. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not the people with something to do that are talking. It's the ones that have nothing else to do, And then, like you said, people aren't thinking before they speak. Everyone's an expert, but no one played in the NFL. I don't know how that works. You got all the answers, but you pushing pencils. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you had all the answers, you'd be there. And that's something a bunch of people have said that in my life, but like that's something I've always believed. But that's one of the reasons I don't like talking about football, because every fan is an expert. And I can't tell you how many times I've had fans talk trash to me about my teammates. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm Mr., we're a family, but like, bro, you're not just going to sit here. You'll never be able to. I don't care if it's the worst player on the team. You can't do what he does.
Right. No doubt.
You know what I mean?
Well,
if you could go out there and do it, you'd be doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
right, I agree with that.
Yeah, now you're a guru.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that about like the fans empowerment, and you talk about like the media and stuff like that. I mean, Joe, you just have to go watch more of our show. I mean, I'm getting on the LSU media right now for, they're wanting to hear from the new head coach, and I'm like, can you give the man a second? He just hired 60 new people on staff. Can you give the man a week and a half?
He's still asking what a back. Excuse me, where's the bathroom? Hey, we need an interview about what it's like.
He's going to complete Jamal Adams. He's trying to use his key card to get in the building, and it's not working right now. Like Jamal Adams meet Brian Kelly. Like, it's the same situation, and I agree with you on that one. Joe, want to transition because we only got a couple more minutes here with you, and I greatly appreciate your time with us. You talked about your music, and you talked about your comedy career and things like that. Man, I got to be honest. I've always wanted to play the guitar. But, dude, you kill it. Like, I got an acoustic guitar right there. Okay, took lessons. These fat, chubby fingers just don't move as good as yours do. When did you learn to play guitar? When did you learn that you were really good at being in music and doing music and writing music? Take the fans that haven't talked or seen you in a while. Take us through that when you started picking that up and how good that's been for you.
Well, guys, it started on a Friday evening. No, I'm just playing. I started playing during my career to get over a very significant debt that I had in my life. As you know, or maybe not. I didn't start playing football until I was like 15, 16.
Right.
There was like one coach on the team that believed in me at the time. His name was Charleston Fobbs. He pretty much got me from, like, I remember my first time walking on the field. What position you want to play? Oh, y'all got positions? I just thought we hit each other. To be in a parade All-American. And he was with me through college and he, into the NFL. He was pretty much like, dad, big brother, all that rolled into one, mentor. And he died in a car accident.
Sorry to hear that.
Oh, thank you. It was either in the 2013 or 2014 season, one of those two. He died during the season. I found out Thursday, played a game that Sunday. It was pretty hard for me, clearly. And Jeff Fisher told me that I needed something to do in the offseason that would take my mind off of it, that wasn't just playing Call of Duty,
Right.
Told me you seem to dig music. And I had a flashback to when I was so I used to play in the middle school band. I played saxophone. And back then the music teacher used to tell my mom, like, you can't let him stop. Like, this is, he's gifted. Like, this is, he can be a hell of a musician one day, all that kind of thing, all that kind of stuff. I kind of took a break from it because I was doing the football thing. It's a little hard to play music when you're dead tired.
Right.
But yeah, so music's something that I've always loved. It's always been like a second form of communication for me. And sometimes it's my preferred method of communication. I don't know if you know I'm autistic. I'm on the autism spectrum. So I don't just hear sounds. Like, I can feel sounds, those kind of things. And I've always had a special relationship with music. It's always been I've always had an intimate relationship with music, and I've always loved it. And, learning how to play the guitar, and then I learned how to play the bass. Then I learned how to play the keyboards or the keys. Then I learned how to produce. So music is, I know this sounds super cheesy, but like, the music is in me. It's in me, but it's always.
It's not. Yeah. No, like, it's not cheesy at all is what I mean. Not cheesy at all. Because, Joe, we're all artists in our own thing. Like, look, man, I didn't know what I was doing to start this podcast. And your mind wanders and in your creative being comes out. Like, the real you can come out in your art and what you do in your content. And I feel that with you, though, man. Like, it all comes out in a form. Like, listening to one of your songs this morning, and I'm looking at me and my wife are sitting there like, bro, like where do you like you feel what you're saying. It's
Mm.
not just words on a piece of paper that you're writing down. Like, no shit. I remember in my life when I was in that same situation, right? Like I remember being in that corner. I remember being in that part. And I think that's why I loved listening to you, man. You could feel it. And when you talk about that, I think that hits home for not just me, but everybody that's going to listen or watch this video.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it's all about I don't know. I mean, in society in general, there's enough people posing, acting like something that they're not. I always want to be true to myself. And that's a hard thing to do, but nothing worth doing is easy. So
Yeah, no, I wish I could wake up and make a crap ton of money. You know what I mean? Like, I wish
yeah.
I had, but what's funny about that? I kind of embrace the grind, and I'm assuming that music, like, you have to embrace the grind. I'm sure there's days that you just, we all hit these hurdles, we all hit these mental blocks. Like, we produce content all day long, and I'm thinking like, man, I don't know where to go next. And what's the funniest thing? We did pretty much like a whole show, and I'm singing "I'm in Love with a Stripper" by T-Pain. Like the creative stuff that, like, just because I go in my car and I'm in love with it, and I'm like in here dancing, Stanky Leg comes on next, but that's a part of music that I think everybody fits into, because everybody has that moment in that song that you flash back to when the first time that you hear it. And I love listening to you do it too. Joe, what are you working on now? Tell everybody where they could find you. What are you working on now, and what you're doing?
So I've come to the realization that the way that I relate to people is through pain. Because we've all had pain. I've been trying as an artist to like figure out, like what's relatable. Not everybody played in the NFL, not everybody's autistic, not everybody's mentally ill, but we've all been through something.
Right.
And that's pretty much what I use as the basis of every song that I've made or every joke that I've made. It's like pain adjacent. It's not like I'm sitting here telling you a journal entry, but at the same time, like you said, like people can say, oh, I remember, when I felt like I was in that place. But to answer your question, I have an album coming out this year called Yours Truly. There's actually a single, I think it dropped today. I should know these things. There's a single that dropped today called I Need Love. I love it. I mean, I love the song. I'm very excited about the album that's coming out. It's it's coming out this year. Like I said, it's called Yours Truly. The most intimate piece of music or art that I've dropped to date, or when it drops, it will have been the most intimate. Like, like Alone, that's an intimate song. I Need Love is another intimate song. The rest of the album is the same way. I'm also producing comedy shows now. I have one monthly show that we do at a barbershop. Next one's gonna be March 31st. It's called, because you can say, not say whatever in the barbershop. Not like we having a hate group meeting, but it's the barbershop. You have the shop talk.
Man. Oh man.
Yeah,
Joe, very quickly, we talked about that. It's so funny you say that. We talked about this week. These Twitter Spaces, and we have a very diverse group of people that join our shows, right? So I even told people, look, white guy, okay, never been into a black barbershop a day in my life, right? I go in there, though, I get faded up, and I'm like, bro, this looks good. I'm digging it. Big Sib from Franklinton, Louisiana, shout out to the Taylors, Brandon and Terrence and all them. But Big Sib puts that alcohol on the back of my neck, like how they do the alcohol in the back of the neck. Bro, I start tearing up, and the whole football team that's in there starts like, don't your fat ass cry, Blake. Don't cry. Don't be a little bitch. Don't do it. And I'm like, dude, but I got addicted to it. But see, that's when I learned. That was the first time I learned about the barbershop. Joe, to your point, I always have gone back. But doing the comedy shows there at the barbershop, it seems pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's fantastic. I'm really excited about it. And besides that, just continuing to produce comedy shows, getting ready to record my first comedy special. That'll probably be either at the end of this year or it'll probably be either end of this year or sometime next year. And then I'm also writing a couple books, a poetry book, a fiction book, and then a biographical book. And of course, I'm still producing music and all that kind of stuff too.
Awesome, man. We absolutely love it. You can follow Joe on Twitter, JBDale72. Go give him a follow. Again, it's at JBDale72.